Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into the latest annual report from Zevra Therapeutics. Get ready because strategic shifts and a whole lot of financial maneuvering. Think of it as a high-stakes game of corporate chess, and I'm here to break down the moves. Zevra's big story this year, they finally got the FDA nod for Empire, a drug to treat a really rare brain disease. That's a huge win for them and, more importantly, for the patients who need it. But that's not all, because Mufav also came with a golden ticket. A priority review voucher. This voucher lets Zevra fast-track another drug through the FDA approval process. And get this, Zevra sold that voucher for a whopping $150 million. It's like winning the lottery, but in the world of pharmaceuticals. Let's check out Zevra's pipeline. These are the key projects they're working on or already selling. You've got Emplifar for MPC, which is already approved, and selling an OLPR UVA for urea cycle disorders, which is also approved. Then there's Celiprolol, still in phase 3 trials for vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and KP1077, a drug with two versions for idiopathic hypersomnia and narcolepsy. And finally, Accession for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and KP1077, a drug with two versions for idiopathic hypersomnia and narcolepsy. And finally, Accession for ADHD is approved and partnered, meaning they just collect Rolltide Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and KP1077, a drug with two versions for idiopathic hypersomnia and narcolepsy. And finally, Accession for ADHD is approved and partnered, meaning they just collect royalties and milestones. It's like they're trying to cover all the bases, and that sounds like a plan. Of course, nothing is ever easy. Right after Emplifar got approved, the FDA gave the thumbs up to a competing drug, Kenyor. This means Zevra isn't the only player in town anymore. They are hoping that their extensive clinical experience with the drug and flexible oral administration will help them halt the effects of this ultra-rare disease. Looking at OLPR UVA, Zevra made a smart move by shifting their sales strategy. Instead of trying to reach everyone, they are focusing on the patients who will benefit the most from it. One thing that's promising in the Celiprolol world is that early BB-EATS clinical trial data showed a 76% reduction in risk of arterial events. If approved, Celiprolol could address a significant unmet need and is generally protected by US patents that will expire after utilizing all appropriate patent term adjustments but excluding possible term extensions in 2038. This would give them years of market protection. Let's quickly chat about KP10177. This is Zevra's drug for idiopathic hypersomnia, which causes you to sleep all the time, or narcolepsy, where you fall asleep all the time. This drug is going after excessive daytime sleepiness, but we will need to wait for a strategic alternative to the drug to surface. Then there's Accession, the ADHD drug. Zevra doesn't sell it directly. Kameva is their partner. They're doing pretty well, having triggered some milestone payments, generating over $25 million in sales in just the first part of the year. Here's a quick shout out to Zevra's legal team, who is cooking patents everywhere. 89 active in the US, 375 abroad. They are looking to add to these by buying or licensing more intellectual property. This is essential for protecting their business and keeping competitors at bay. Now, the competition is fierce, and they've got to deal with giants like Amgen and Novartis. The competitors may have drugs that are more effective, safer, or cheaper, and they might get approval faster. This is the reality of the pharmaceutical world, and Zevra needs to stay on their toes. The FDA is watching them closely, and Zevra has to make sure they don't make any missteps in how they market and promote their drugs. One wrong move, and it's warning letters, fines, or worse. There's a lot on the line. So can Zevra keep this going? According to them, they're in the clear and should be fine funding operations into 2029. That's a long way away and a lot can happen, but we can take this claim with a grain of salt, since what a company says about its own survival is often not something you can completely rely on. We'll have to review the numbers ourselves. We now turn to their financials, and here is where it gets interesting. One of the biggest issues Zevra faces is their history of losing money. They said it themselves, stating they can never achieve or maintain profitability. For the year, operating cash outflow was nearly $70 million, whereas in 2023 it was $33.5 million. That's bad news, bears. To become profitable, they need to be successful in developing and commercializing drugs that generate significant revenue, and this would need them to have successful trials, regulatory approval, manufacturing, marketing, and commercializing drugs that generate significant revenue, and this would need them to have successful trials, regulatory approval, manufacturing, marketing, and commercialization. Something bear a lot of risk risks behind. And if there was anything else to be worried about with Zevra, it's accounting. If they mess up their internal controls, they might not be able to accurately report their financial results, and investors could lose confidence. That's a recipe for a stock price disaster. This is more of a warning to management to keep this a priority because I don't foresee any issues. However, speaking of money, they have struck a deal with Relief Therapeutics. They get the rights to sell OLPRUVA in Europe, and in return, Zevra gets a royalty. That's extra income with very little downside. And get a load of these risks. The company needs to make sure their customers, suppliers, and distributors don't jump ship after this merger with Acer. If that happens, it could throw a wrench in their whole operation. Let me tell you, with a laundry list of risks, Zevra is playing a high-stakes game. It's like they're walking a tightrope, and one wrong step could send them tumbling down. Zevra doesn't make their own drugs, they outsource it, so they better hope those contract manufacturers don't mess things up. Because if they do, it could mean delays, shortages, or even safety issues. That means delays to clinical trials, failure to obtain regulatory approval, or impact our ability to successfully commercialize our products if approved. This could result in injunction, recall, seizure, or total or partial suspension of production. This could be the biggest headache for their future, as if their partners mess up, it could lead to a disaster. I like the amount of forward thinking and focus on growth that the company is doing right now. If they continue on their current trajectory, they are likely to continue to be a driving force in the rare disease market. So that was quite the deep dive. Let's see what the high level outlook for Zevra is. The good parts, the MA buffer approved, and their COP MA are approved, and they're selling it, and they are expecting a huge influx of cash from selling off the PRV. The concerning parts, Kev, they're burning cash like crazy, relying heavily on partners and suppliers and navigating a minefield of regulations. Any mistake with their partners and it may be game over. In summary, Zevra's got potential, but they need to prove they can turn these wins into sustainable profits. It's a tough road ahead, but with some smart moves, they could become a major player in the rare disease market. If you enjoyed this corporate deep dive, hit that like button, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more insider looks at the business world. Until next time, keep decoding.